an event for kids, children in the area. Also bring people into the community in terms of having it be a big event. Portland did something very similar to this. And obviously it's a big space. The town space that they potentially could use is all hard, and if you have kids bouncing on things, the water slides, if they fall off those things, falling on grass is a little bit softer than falling on tar. So we were looking at what spaces in the town would be accessible, and it was actually looking at the middle school fields up kind of at the top in terms of parking, and those fields would have the best access for parking for the community and having a wide open green space. We still have a lot more information to find out, going through liability insurance, which they are fully insured, the company that brings us to here. But really, just before Terry does a whole lot of digging into this and work, we want to make sure that the board is at least comfortable with her pursuing this type of event.
How many days are we looking at?
We'll just do it
1
1 day.
day?
If you want 2 days, I can.
I feel like having a couple of days would be worth it for something that.
And I do think the middle school feels better because the other fields are used after school gets out for athletic things, but we've got space.
I think she said it would be a
Also, the parking
Is much better.
is much better up at the middle school
Yeah.
than in front of the Miles Lane where there's just kind of on the road parking.
Right, which is limited.
And we also gotta remember that those Miles Lane fields are used pretty frequently by the rec department throughout the course of the summer. There's lots of stuff that's going on out there, so.
What would be the timing of this, Josh?
Terry's targeting late June.
Right,
So after school?
right, so it'd be
Yeah.
like a out-of-school fun thing.
Okay. So it wouldn't interfere with anything that you're doing
Nope.
or any athletics that are potentially after school?
Correct. Yeah, that was the one thing we thought. We wanted to make sure that we were clear of graduation, kind of end of year, festive, to get kids out of school. Also just weather-wise, like the further later you get into June, the more likely it's gonna be warmer and you're not gonna have a miserable early June day that we have. Like if it had been this early June,
Yeah.
it
we've
rained
been
every
used to that.
Saturday for 13 weekends straight, right? So.
I just wanted to bring up, just from doing the pickup soccer up there, that's the time that it gets seated.
Yes, and
We'd have to move that.
and once we kind of get like a range of dates that this company could come and do this, we
Coordinate around.
we would start coordinating around it. I did throw this on David when he first got hired here last month. I'm still let him get the feel for the grounds and facilities and, but again, we just wanted to make sure that there was no major roadblocks from the board. I didn't expect that there would be a ton, but.
Insurance-wise, you think that we're all covered?
Yeah.
And, I mean, parking-wise would be good. Do you feel as though we have to have anything with police involvement for like helping to coordinate traffic or?
I already talked to Winchester and Denny, and they didn't see a problem. We actually looked at the parking spot at Miles Lane, and Denny thought that it would be totally fine, because I was thinking about having maybe a couple food trucks too, people playing in the water, getting hungry. So, but depending on how many electrical outlets, we weren't quite sure. Before, when I brought the water slides to the Bay Festival, when I did it a few years back, I used gas generators, which worked fine, but he said that if I was gonna do that, just to have a fire extinguisher.
Well, she keeps saying Miles Lane, we keep saying
Middle school, right?
Well, that's a park, and I thought originally we had talked middle school just because of the parking area there, but.
It's all in
yeah.
Miles Lane.
Yeah,
It's all up the Miles Lane Road.
It's on the Miles Lane, right.
We're just talking
But
about
there's
the
a Miles
end of
at
the
the end
Miles
of it.
Lane Road instead of the middle of it.
Right, yes.
Yeah, but I think we're all in coordination of what we're talking about, right? Okay, and then, facilities for, the urination.
Bathrooms, yeah.
Yes,
so we were
that's the word,
Yeah,
porta
we were-
potties and whatnot.
I think a lot of those details certainly,
Some of the times, you get old and there's blockage in there, and I just couldn't think of the right word, I'm sorry.
we certainly would want to look at to bring in, We were registered, and typically anytime we have a big event like this, we bring in porta potties for the outside for the day.
But we wouldn't be using the facilities within the school building, we don't have to open the building and.
It's typically cheaper and easier to have something on the outside than it is to bring somebody in for the day, pay a custodian, and I mean, it's just a better investment.
So is this school sanctioned, or is this like an outside entity just asking to use our property that's?
Yeah, so we would go through our facilities, once we, again, we're kind of doing an initial, so we don't need to take a vote, it's just a general consensus. More so, again, I didn't want Terry to go through and jump all these hoops and then bring it back to us and be
And say,
like,
no, that's not gonna work, yeah.
where our space isn't gonna be available. But this will be in partnership with the town, I know you talked with Rich a little bit on this. You know, the idea is to figure out just what it would take to pull something like this off. Get all those details, but this is not, we're not gonna be like paying this company, like the RSU.
We're not gonna bus kids in or
No.
anything like that.
No, we're, honestly, our,
Is this parked down at the mill?
our contribution would be providing the space and just be a thinking partner in terms of planning and stuff around that. And promoting, certainly we would look to promote it with our students at the end of the year with flyers or however else. And as we get close, if you guys are going.
Because we have policy surrounding this as well.
We do, good.
Some policy.
No, I'm just thinking, what do we have to provide?
Oh, absolutely, no, and there'll be a list of things I'm sure they will give us that they're gonna need, the company that comes in terms of, and like Terry brought up some power generators, water hookups, and then we would bring David in and say, what do we have, what do we need to bring in, and go from there.
I say we informally approve.
I informally second.
4:30, all right, we have an informally approved and an informally second. All those informally approving of the informal approval? That looks unanimous. All right, thank
So
you.
thank you, Terry, for bringing forward.
Thank you.
And then the last communication I have, and this will just kind of, I'll do it here instead of my superintendent's report, is last week, so Mr. Morrill has had quite a fun last 4 or 5 days with all things technology. None of which was his fault, as much as I like to blame him for anytime something breaks in the technology world. But we had a firewall that went down due to a power surge based on the testing of a generator at the public safety building. So this firewall going down took out our internet for 4 hours, roughly. And there was a little mild panic for about 20 minutes during the school day. And then we remembered that we can function in schools without internet. It's doable. And
What a strange thing.
Did telephones go down too?
so, yes and no. So some of the telephones go down. We have backup phones that we can use so that we can still communicate. But in all seriousness, even though we say things, it does create issues, right? Like there's things going on. So, you know, most of all of our IEPs are now done on Zoom, right? And so when you don't have internet, it's tough to run an IEP through Zoom without using a hotspot or something else. You know, we did have some phone issues. Teachers that had plans that day based off from technology now can no longer do that. So we made it through the day. That night, Mr. Morrow worked his magic as he always does. He had us back up and running at using an old firewall at a very throttled back, about 15% of what we normally have. But he was able to have us back up and running the next day, which was great. We've been running that all day Friday, yesterday, and today until about 4 o'clock. And then we got a brand new firewall in here. The downside to the brand new firewall is the cost that comes along with firewalls to run our internet, okay? He was able to work with the company, so a brand new firewall, and this one was just under $40,000, but a brand new one is about $22,000 for a firewall. He was able to work with the engineer that they determined it's not their fault, but it's kind of their fault in terms of the firewall itself shouldn't have malfunctioned the way it did, even though it was outside of our warranty. But they have what they call a quick replace plan that you can purchase along the way. It's kind of like the Geek Squad for this firewall in terms of you pay so much and if something goes down, they just replace it for it. They allowed Mr. Morrow to prorate what that would have cost for the last 2 years to replace the firewall, have it basically overnighted to us. It wasn't quite an overnight, but it was really close to it. And for $8,800 was able to get that $22,000 firewall here and replaced. Obviously, that's not something that we have budgeted for.
That's why we have
You will see an agenda item for me next week, we can move some technology reserve money to cover that, because we don't have it in the local budget money. We would just be cutting out things that we had already planned on budgeting for. What I will say is that, if you remember back in April, we had the $120,000 technology amount that you approved for the middle school project where we replaced the servers at the middle school. That come in about $30,000 under budget. We then used some of that money to purchase the touchscreens for our new badging system. If we incorporate the $8,000 for this server here, we will still be under that approved amount of $120,000 that you did last April. So our reserve account still will be in a spot where it's in a healthy space where we anticipated to be back last April when we approved for it. So we don't need to take action on that because we want to make sure we have all the numbers right as we get this stuff paid for, and we'll be able to, we pay for it out of local budget, we can move our money around. But I just want you to be prepared for it. We did have a pretty serious thing go down that disrupted our internet, but again, thanks to the efforts of Mr. Moore, we were able to get back up.
The town doesn't have any liability in the fact that they broke it in financially helping us here?
No, is the quick answer to that. It's not, they didn't really, Ms. Moore, maybe you can explain this.
So we stored at the police department because they do have a generator. So they don't charge us for that cost. Officially, if you ever see a receipt, you'll see a $1 cost. That's because of the federal mandated, because it's federally funded equipment. So they haven't charged us all these years. And like a piece of our equipment goes down, we hijack theirs and vice versa. So it's been a very agreeable relationship.
Gentlemen's agreement.
What they are doing is they're replacing the battery backup. It was a chain reaction failure. So they are replacing the battery backup, which will help that not happen in the future. And we moved a larger battery backup down there as well. I would not ask the town to pay for it in that case, because we have had free storage of their generator services for, well, since before. But it will raise the question of, do we keep this policy of what they call the instant replacement moving forward? Do we buy another one, keep it on hand? So there'll be discussion this year of what we can do to make sure that we don't have that time again. They're very good. It is an overnight service once everything got approved. And the purchasing happened, it shipped out at 11 p.m. last night, and had me at 2 p.m. today, and I installed it.
Wow.
So it's not an expense I want to pay, but we've seen the results of not having. I just happen to have the old firewall kicking around because, well, if you've ever been in my office, you'll understand there's probably another firewall.
Yeah. And I've been giving Director Kagan a hard time for about a week straight.
Oh, okay. Give him some sass for
yes.
us.
But again, I think he did Mr. Moore's point that we've had such a great partnership, and our efficiencies through those relationships have kept our costs down drastically, well more than what we're paying here. So I don't think it would be advantageous for us to have our own generator system that's gonna cost us way more than the $8,000 that That's what I have for communication, sorry, more than I usually have.
All right, we have superintendents.
So Mrs. Woods had approached me about the possibility of taking a look at something we had done in the past in terms of providing an opportunity for support staff that are looking to achieve a teaching certificate to address shortages in our special education teaching department. So currently we are 1.4 special ed teachers short in the district, which in itself provides a large number of challenges. We have been at least one special education teacher short the last 3 years, I believe. And we have kind of tapped out the number of people that we can hire and promote unless they get more certifications or more courses under their belt. We do have one or two employees that are not too far away from where we could actually get them certified. We've known them, they're good at that, we think they would be good special education teachers. We could fast track, but right now in special education, an ed tech gets one course per year by contract. It would take them 6 years to get certified at one course per year. If we were to come up with a structure, which we have done in the past, where we would do an advanced payment structure for those courses to get them certified, to fill gaps that we have, and this is at the discretion of the board and the superintendent. So this is not for everybody, it's not an open enrollment into this, but like specifically, we have openings that we cannot fill in special education. If we identify someone that has the ability to achieve that certification, to fill those gaps, we would front load those courses. In exchange, they would have to guarantee employment with us for 2 years as a teacher. If they leave within that time, it's a prorated out, so we agree they'd have to pay us back for half of the money that we front loaded. But after 2 years, they would have met their fulfillment of us front loading those courses. We have done this, we have 2 teachers, special education teachers working for us right now that have been with us for at least 5 years, I want to say maybe longer than that as teachers, that did something very similar. So we front loaded their courses and we've had them as teachers for 5+ years, which is invaluable, especially in special education. So again, just kind of looking for the board for, this is something that is done outside of the collective bargaining agreement. So it's something that we can just do at our discretion. So more kind of an awareness and just looking for, again, for a general consensus that you're okay with me looking into our staff and trying to create opportunities to fill employment gaps.
We had conversation with the teachers union as,
Yeah.
are they okay with
They are.
that as far as being exceeding what the normal
Yeah.
contract would be? I think it's a great idea.
All in favor of it,
Successful.
yeah.
Should we
2
all
years
just
long
nod
enough for you,
once?
Scott?
I wanna do this.
So again, it's more,
no.
yeah, it's more just me letting you know that we're doing this to meet a need. But I just really wanted to be clear that it's because we have a need that we're doing this. We're not doing this for anybody that.
And you're
wants to get-
identifying people that you feel will be successful in the position.
What we actually,
2 years good enough, Scott?
oh yeah,
Because we've paid for people's courses and then they bolted.
I know, and we talked about that in negotiations.
That's why I'm
Doing
asking
that,
you
but when you mentioned that, I went,
specifically.
that's good.
Yeah. All right,
And they do that, they're required for how many years, 2 you said?
Two full years as a teacher. Yeah. Upon completion of their courses and certification, so. And again, the teachers that the people that we have identified are very close, so it's not like it's gonna be 5 years before they get this completed and then they're pretty close.
do you need us to take any action?
Good, all right, we just kind
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, anything else on
Smile and
superintendent's
nod,
report?
smile and nod.
Nope, I'm good.
Good
All right.
idea.
Board chair report, I'll be real quick. Beautiful fall. This is my last round of college visits with the child. And it's been an experience. Had 3 children, 3 very different asks for colleges. So I have seen more colleges than probably most human beings would want to. Went to the last, hopefully last college open house this last weekend. It really hit me as we were going through. Victoria really wants to be a nurse. And so we were down at the University of New England, and they have one of the evidently premier, they like to think themselves as premier. Premier.
Also, spoiler alert, every nursing.
Well, yes, that's what I was gonna get to next, was
Yeah.
that everyone seems to think that, but
Yeah.
they seem to think that they are really great at the nursing. And where she is currently, and what she has done here at Bucksport and at HCTC with their nursing program, she exceeds what they would even start at as a junior. in their call.
Wow.
So
Says a lot, Dave, about
it says a lot about what we
we're
offer.
offering,
And I'm just really, really very proud of that because I've got 3 children who have gone through this school and they have been able to get into the college that they have wanted to do the thing that they have wanted to do, and have been very, very successful because of what we offer here. And to me, that has meant a lot. You guys really do a superb job at getting the kids in this area ready to do what they want to do. You're launching their futures. And it isn't because, you know, somebody here on the board has said, well, you know, you gotta go and do this, or somebody in the state said you gotta go and do that. We are making a opportunity available for all of our children at whatever they want to do. My 3 kids don't want to do the same thing, not even close. And they're all able to do what they want to do. And I know their friends, they also want to do something different, and they're able to do what they want to do. So that's really, really great. And I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for what you guys did. And that's the epitome of the board chair report for today. Next, we've got curriculum.
And you couldn't do that without a curriculum.
Nice job, Abby.
Segue. We had our meeting, we welcome public comment, there was none, spoiler alert. Erin was wearing several different hats, and First Gen talked to us, gave us a little Aspire update, because she's a part of our group now. And she's gonna look to get a transportation career simulator involved with us, which was really cool when she talked about it. So if you have any questions, you can talk to Jen about that. And then Aaron did show up because he was the athletic director.
Listen, I didn't show up, so we're good.
And he basically just updated us on the NEASC process, where we were, and he did an in-depth presentation for all of us last month about that. Then Christina gave us a district data update. She will be presenting tonight, so I won't give any spoilers away on that. And then the district update really just included that we're gonna have to be working on our strategic plan, and we'll be discussing that with Josh next meeting is the plan. The next meeting is Thursday, November 6th. And yeah, I think that's it.
Any questions on curriculum? All right. Finance committee met right before this meeting. We discussed the budget to actual. Everything seemed to be quite in line. And we also talked about our school lunch program, which looks currently in the positive, but that is because we haven't received our Cisco. Any questions on finance? All right, we got policy.
Policy, we did meet, bringing forth 4 policies this evening, most of which are, have been either changes at the state level or to capture some of the ways we've been doing things right along in order to put ourselves in accordance with, to codify that in language. So we'll bring those forth as agenda item later on this evening.
Any questions for policy before we go? All right. Next, we got facilities.
So we did meet on the 9th. We pretty much talked about the truck thing. We had a good discussion on the bids that we received for the much needed plow truck and plow included. We received 2 bids and reviewed each one. And there was a good discussion that really made me think a lot about the bidding process that we're doing right now. So Dave Mylan really added a lot to that from his experience on the bidding process. And it was really a lot of added value that day. Then we discussed the removal of the Miles Lane underground oil tank. The contractor had some concern about the water and the propane lines near the tank that could cause a problem during the dig. And then the Science Wing windows, we talked about that. They'll be installed on Thanksgiving break. And then Dr. Tripp updated us on the new crisis alert system recently installed, which was really interesting, I thought. And that's it.
Any questions? All right, HCTC,
Well, HCTC did meet, but I didn't.
well, all right.
So I'm going to.
So we have an agenda item.
Trip.
I was,
Back up.
Bill gave us an update there, enrollment is, still, an all-time, I say an all-time high, but high for the last 10 to 15 years, so it's still well up over 300. Which is great, and we're close to 55 students, I believe, here from Bucksville High School that are attending. So, as I said, important, we have an agenda item here. As you know, they've been trying to get a new building, so that is an old building, and it certainly needs, not just it's beyond just renovating different classrooms that they need to keep up with the programming and the technology to keep the trades current. They really need a new building.
Are you talking about their building on Boggy Brook
Yes.
Road in
Yeah.
Ellsworth? Okay.
Yeah, so the town of Ellsworth has wanted a new building as well, but obviously building something like that is very expensive. So they have applied for, to be put on the new school list, to receive funding through the state. They were 18th last year, they were 17th this year, so they moved up one spot.
So another 16 years, we're good to go.
The problem with that is 4 schools that were not on the list last year jumped ahead of them.
Oh.
So, and what happens is, like last year, we had 2 schools that had severe fires that need replacement. And so you always have, it seems that there's only so much funding to replace these schools. So they're just not seeing traction that's gonna get them close to a timeline that meets the needs of the programming that they have. So I'll explain in the next agenda, but we'll have an agenda talk about they have a different application that they can apply for. I still don't know how they kind of qualify for it, but the state told them that they should apply for it, and they would be competing against 1 or 2 other schools for this. So it actually brings it back into the realm of possibility, but they would need support from this board. Or I should say, they don't necessarily need it, but it would certainly be advantageous to say when they're sending school board support them applying for this. So
They're not looking into a revolving renovation either, because it's not enough money. They're looking for a whole new, so not just an update or additions.
they're looking for.
They
a
want
new
us to
facility.
go to the meeting.
No, they just need
No, they
us
just
to
need
say
us
that
to-
we support them applying for.
I make a motion that we support it.
There's an
It's in
agenda.
the-
Sorry, I tried.
It's okay, we'll get there.
And that's Scott's report.
And that's, and I will be at the next meeting on November.
We have no old business, under new business, we have some personnel.
So under resignations, we have Tracy Sullins, Title I math teacher. Tracy will be leaving us in mid-November. We just actually received his resignation yesterday. Him and his family are moving to North Carolina. He's been a great employee for us, and we're gonna certainly miss his contributions. And he doesn't wanna leave us, it's just the right move for him and his family. So we have that resignation, and then Megan Simpson is stepping down as BMS girls B team basketball coach.
Well, I move that we accept the resignations with regret.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor? That is unanimous, thank you. Next, we have nominations.
I have a lot of nominations here, so we have,
Want to do support personnel
I'll do those
first?
first, yeah. So under support personnel, we have 2 ed techs. This is once again continues to be on a hiring spree here, which is great. So we have Kellyanne Johnson, special ed tech, and then Kaya Wilson, also in the same position. She is. And then we have Brandon Schultz, who will be joining us as a custodian at BHS. And that will actually put Mr. Mahan at full capacity for custodians for the first time in a year and a half.
Well, there we go.
Well, let's move that.
Every time we get full, then we have moves around, and so we're gonna have to make sure he doesn't jinx us.
Quick, I need a
Well, I
nomination.
move that we accept the nominations as a block.
Second.
We have a nomination and a second, all those in favor? That is unanimous, thank you.
All right,
There you go. So
Thank you.
it's fully staffed for right now.
for right now.
Knock on wood.
So next I have all of our winter coaches and volunteers. A majority of these are all either returning coaches or volunteers in the same position. And we do have two new ones in here, names that you haven't seen before. One of which is with us, I believe, here. So Andy McGuire is here. He's our nomination for BHS wrestling coach.
Great.
And I will read down through the other ones if you'd like me to for all of them. So we have Sedge Saunders, varsity boys basketball, Matt McInnes, JV boys basketball, Ed Hatch, varsity girls, Lexi McInnes, JV girls basketball, Mr. Morrison for indoor track, Lindsay Gordon, assistant indoor track, Josh Jackson, unified basketball, Andy McGuire, as I said, as varsity wrestling, Casey Pelletier as assistant wrestling, and Lauren Lumpton as varsity cheering. For winter volunteers, we have Rick Larrabee, Todd Freeman, Darren Ripley, Kyle Wilson, Paige Anderson, Evan Seekins, and Addie Morrison. And sorry, there's more on the next page. Mike Arcelon, Brenna Youngblood, and Colin Gross. For Bucksport Middle School winter coaches, we have John Gagan, boys basketball, Nick Schlosser, boys B team basketball, Lester Cowan, girls A team. We still have that open B vacancy that we just have from the resignation from Ms. Simpson. Alex Sanborn cheering. We do not have a middle school wrestling coach at this time. Lily Winslow will be the A team volleyball coach, and then Amber McGuire is the B team volleyball coach. And then even though she stepped down as a girls basketball coach, she is going to be a volunteer, Megan Simpson. And I think we have them all.
That's a good one.
This might just be my recollection being bad. Boys basketball coach. Why did I think last name was Pye before?
That was
That was a while ago.
He was the JV coach.
It was the JV coach. Okay, so this is who the coach had been. It is.
It's still gonna be his third year.
Couple years this week.
Okay, all right. Well, that shows you how much I know about that.
You're on the games, but I need to watch it with your daughter.
I am totally watching my daughter, yes. All right. All right, any other questions on any of our coaches?
Well, I move that we accept all of the coaches listed as a block.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Alicia was totally denied, and that has to be.
I'm still gonna win the
All
Hula.
those in favor? That's unanimous,
But I'm
thank
making
you.
credit for it, because I didn't go and.
Andy, I was gonna say, thank you.
Congratulations, Andy.
Yes,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Next, we have first reading of policies.
All right, so you have 4 policies, and I'm gonna use the word new. Only 2 of them are really new. 2 of them are returning. So I will do my best to try to explain them. The first one, IHB-AI, is a special education independent evaluation policy. This is brand new to us. I say it's brand new to us in policy, but it actually just outlines all of the procedures that we have always done, because basically it outlines what you need to do to provide an independent evaluation upon the request of a parent. If there is some disagreement about the evaluation that is provided by the district when you're doing an evaluation for an IEP, the parent has the right to request an independent evaluation, but there's a procedure as to how that evaluation process has to go that is outlined very clearly in state statute, and this policy mirrors state statute in terms of what that procedure should look like. We have never had this policy. We have always just kind of gone by state statute on the few times that we have had to do this. It's not something that you do very frequently. The procedures that are in there are to protect both the parent and the school district in terms of the process of how the evaluator is chosen, what needs to take place for the school district to pay for and compensate for it. Again, this is something that a parent has the right to request. And this is not denying that request, it is just talking about the process that has to be followed in order for that to happen. So again, it is a brand new policy, taken straight from our template from MSMA and Drummond Woodson that they go through. But again, it's long, but it really, again, just dictates what is there in the statute. The second policy, which is not my favorite policy, and I had a little bit of venting to the policy committee, EDVD, temperature in schools. The state last year passed legislation, and I gotta be careful when I say it's not my favorite policy. They just passed legislation that said that school districts have to come up with a policy that identifies optimal, so I guess the best word I can use here, optimal temperatures to have in schools. And then if it reaches certain points during the day that are well above that optimal temperature or well below, what are schools gonna do to help keep students, staff in a spot where it's safe and able to manage it. This is a response to, over the last several years, we've had that, this year we've been very lucky. You have that one September day that gets to be 90 degrees outside come the afternoon. And if you're in this library and it's 90 degrees outside, by 2 o'clock, it's 90 plus in here, and it can be very uncomfortable. We have always, whenever the temperatures got really hot, made accommodations within our buildings to do what is necessary. So at the middle school, we have the auditorium that we can turn the air conditioning on. We have the rooms we can move people from downstairs, from upstairs to downstairs. Same thing at the high school, we can shift people around. We can use our cafeteria, we can use our gymnasium, we can take people outside. We bring fans in, we open windows. So we do the common sense stuff. And in this policy, you'll notice that we bulleted out those common sense type things that we do. There is a focus on, well, first off, there's that optimal range, and we had a little discussion of like, okay, what is optimal temperatures within school? And, talking with David in terms of where are we at? So most of our rooms are in the 65 to 66 degree range during the winter time. Obviously a little bit warmer in September, and same thing in June, but like when you get into the cold, for the most part, they stay in the 65, 66 range. Can I say that there's not a time that a room gets down to 63 or 62? No, I mean, we're gonna have those really cold days, wind blows through, but we have a nice way because every school has a heating system. So if it gets really cold, we can bring the temperature up. Schools are not equipped in Maine to bring temperatures way down. So when it gets up above 80 degrees, then we don't have air conditioning that we can turn on in the whole building to drop that high temperature down to that optimal range. So obviously there has been time, it's happened once, I don't remember how many years ago, when we knew that there was gonna be extreme high temperatures. We did an early dismissal, but it was planned like the day before. And just said, okay, we know it's gonna be 95 degrees. After school activities are not gonna be safe. We're not gonna have soccer practice. We're not gonna have football practice. We're gonna go home at 1 o'clock. Everybody knows the night before so they can make arrangements, and that's what we did. That's not ideal to do during the day, so to have a policy where we would say, okay, if it hits 86 degrees, we're sending everybody home. Because we can't send first graders home and their parents, for them to try to find coverage, and we're sending them to probably a more unsafe situation where there may not be somebody there. So this intentionally will say that you will not see that we are gonna dismiss school at any temperature, right? That does not mean that we wouldn't do it ahead of time if we thought that was the safest thing for staff and students. What we don't wanna be doing is holding a thermometer up in each classroom and saying, when we get to this certain point, in this one room, everybody's going home. That's not a logical thing, or the safest thing for our staff and students. So the reason I don't like this policy is because in the legislation it said that state has to provide guidance for us. And the state's guidance was come up with a range of temperatures that make sense for your community and typical. And that was their guidance.
It's like, but it's guidance.
There's gray areas and variants, and they're trying to make it very black and white.
Yes, yeah.
That's difficult.
They wanted us to put an optimal, and then if you get so many degrees outside that optimal, then you have to do these interventions. I have no problem with that. If it's 88 degrees, those things that are listed there, we should be doing, we do them. That I am perfectly fine with that. That's why I don't mind this policy as it's written, because it's all stuff that we do currently.
it comes from, as written, it's pretty common sense, I
It
think.
is.
It's just, we kind of talked about why we need to do this, because it is common sense. But I guess somewhere in our great state, the legislator decided that we needed to have guidance because we couldn't do that on our own, I guess, but,
Did we get some help in writing this? Or did we?
So this is a template that the state actually put out with blanks in there in terms of what the degrees were. So you'll look at lots of other school districts, they'll have the same template, but theirs may not say 65 to 80. We talked about it in policy and we said, well, it says 65 and it gets to 10 degrees below that, 55 is really pretty cold, right? And there's something wrong, there's a boiler down. If we have a boiler go down, the school's getting canceled because we can't keep kids warm and that's not safe. If your optimal's at 80, and you go above 10 degrees to 90, right? Yeah. We know anywhere in there, we're making these types of modifications.
If it's a finals, down to the last day of finals, it says here you can move it to another day ahead, would you be able to?
I mean, it really all
And it's
depends
just
on
a
where they
scenario.
are, yeah. And again, what we didn't want to do is pigeonhole ourselves, because I know what I would have been doing as a 17-year-old and said, all right, it hit 87 degrees, I did not study for my calculus test yesterday, so I am gonna pull out the thermometer and say, you can't give me the test today, I want it tomorrow, because we're at 87 degrees. Now, this is just saying that, based on the scenario, we will make the best decision. These are the types of accommodations that we can make.
The main concern I had was not about heat. I mean, yeah, it might be uncomfortable, but we can all somehow live through an 87-degree day. It's the cold. And living out at the end of Route 15, where we're right on the border of where two power companies decide that it isn't their fault that you've lost power. When it's too cold here, it is way too cold at home.
Right.
And to dump a kid off possibly into an empty house where they can't go and, figure it out on their own, they've got to huddle under some blankets to stay home, stay warm. I would much rather than be here where they're, uncomfortable at 60, instead of freezing to death at 30 at home.
Right.
And so I appreciate this common sense policy instead of coming up with a hard and fast number.
And again, it does everything that we currently do, and it meets the letter of the law in terms of what our legislation says we have to have. The last two policies are, you saw these policies last year at about the same time. And instead of them being ACAA and ACAAR, they were ACAAR1 and ACAAR2. So in 2020, you had a version of these harassment of students and student discrimination, harassment, investigation, complaint procedure policies that look identical to the ones that are in your packet right now. So we had these in 2020. In 2024, they changed them. They made them, basically took the current policies that we had in 2020, and they made it much more specific in terms of how we handled complaint and investigations, specifically around sexual harassment complaints, both for staff and students. There was lots and lots of detail of how those complaints and investigations had to happen. There was a specific set of procedures for students. There was a specific set of procedures for staff. That was the ACA RR1 and R2, okay? The federal government has now changed it back to the 2020 version that we had before and combined 1 and 2 back just to ACAA-R. So this, it looks exactly the same. I literally went back to what we had in 2020, pulled, dusted them off, brought them back, word for word, made sure Tara's name was in them because they weren't in them before, because she's our compliance officer. And made sure like all that stuff was up to date. But it looks exactly the same as we had it for 2020 and it meets what we need to have and is the recommendation from both MSMA and Drummond Wilson to meet.
I somehow think we approved those back in 2020.
We did.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Those are the 4 policies. And we did have any just for review.
Before we move on, can we vote on the first one separately than the other 3? Just personally speaking, I think the first one is not the policy, but the statute itself is poorly worded and irresponsible. So I don't really wanna cast my vote for that.
What's your specific, sorry?
Special education.
We get well into the.
I mean, if we bring it back to the policy committee, so.
It's not gonna change, this is just a personal, I'm voting on principle of my disagreement with the state statute. I feel it's anti-parent and it doesn't promote parents getting the best evaluation for their students, the way it's worded. And the wording is vague and contradictory, but it has nothing to do with like, it's good to have a policy.
It's the state law.
Yes.
that unfortunately, we
Yes.
can't do
Yeah.
nothing about.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't wanna support the state law with a vote and enacting it into our policy.
Okay, but it isn't something that we can
No,
have
no,
any
it's nothing,
action
it's
on.
completely,
We went
Yeah.
over this
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
policy committee.
Yeah.
I'm not part of that
Yep,
committee,
no.
so I just wanted to
I
understand,
just-
because if it's something that we can do on our end,
no.
then.
I do think it's a good idea to have this to give to parents. I just don't like what we're giving to parents.
Right.
So I just, in principle, I don't wanna support it, so I.
Okay. Well,
And the rest of them are totally fine,
Yeah,
actually, but.
I'm certainly fine to have us vote on these independently, or just take
Just
the first one
and do
out.
the rest as a block, cause everything else.
Is everyone else okay with that?
Well, can I just ask one question about the temperature one again? I
Sure.
was just, I know this is right from a template and it says you can reschedule exams, tests to another day. I didn't know if there should be like one more bit of verbiage about like, if you are like adjusting your curriculum, because like physical education, like maybe you focus on stretching on a 90-degree day versus running 2 miles. Or, you know what I mean? I don't know, maybe that doesn't need to be in there, but I didn't know. Is that something that we do?
Yeah.
Might as well.
I mean,
That's another common sense thing, but it wasn't,
Boy, I
It wasn't
hope our
mentioned.
phys ed teachers would know.
yeah. I mean, we certainly.
you would hope they would,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know about Ed.
It wouldn't necessarily be, it kind of falls in line with that last bullet, but it's not necessarily a test, it
Yeah.
just.
I mean, I think, I will speak for the principals, just that we take care
We
of
don't need that. Okay, I was just posing a question.
And
I
again,
don't
I'm not
need
saying
it
that's not
personally.
that's at the purview of the board, if we wanna send it back to the committee, but I can't picture a phys ed teacher or an
Like
administrator
making
that
kids
would
run
see
2
that
miles
happen
in
and not
90-degree heat.
say something.
And if you guys are good with it, I'm good with it, I just I didn't see it mentioned, and that would be like kind of a alteration that would be made.
Yeah, I think too, we touched on it in the policy committee, and it doesn't really specify it in here, but like when it's too cold to send kids out for recess, even though it's not in the policy, it's just an
Is there an
administrative,
can they
it's an
read
administrative
instead,
thing
or-
that we do with consistency, and was it 10-degree feel-like temperature, is the cutoff point, so I think it would work both ways.
Okay.
I think it's kind of a,
Perfect, yeah, I don't need it personally, I just didn't know if that's something that
No, I think
should
it's a
be in
valid-
there, or,
I mean, myself, I like having the flexibility instead of a number.
Well-
And this is coming from an accountant, you know.
but
But
that
I
isn't
just
what
do-
I'm talking about
I think
either.
there's just
This
a
is giving them
time
flexibility.
where you look outside and you say, well, it's a beautiful day. Well, it's 55 degrees out. Well, we tell the kids to put on their jackets and we go out and we have a good time. We have another day, and we look out there, it's pouring, driving rain, 75 degrees out.
Send them out.
You know what? Let's stay inside and play checkers. I don't necessarily need a number to drive common sense. And so I'm good with it.
I was just saying that would give them the ability to have more, like be unstructured, really, like they could change around what they were doing. But as long as we're good with them doing it,
I feel like we give
perfect.
teachers they have to make the best decision
They
for
need to
them
take their
on a
discretion
daily
and-
basis.
yeah.
Sometimes it's just, has nothing to do with weather, right? Like it's just, there's something that's happened in the school that's
And maybe
created
that's not
unrest
appropriate
and
today.
You know what, we're not taking this test today, today's not a good day, we're doing it tomorrow.
Right.
And
And that's okay.
But your point's valid, and I just don't think, I think we can
Just
chase it.
before we pass something, I wanted to make sure we didn't have to address
No,
anything like that, but
Absolutely.
All right, so I would take a motion for IHBAI, Special Education Independent Evaluation.
I move that we move ahead with the first reading of policy IHBAI.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? We have one opposed. Okay. All right, thank you. And then I would look for a motion for the three policies, EBBD, temperature in schools, ACAA, harassment of students, ACAA-R, student discrimination, harassment, and Title IX, sexual harassment compliant procedure.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
I love so moved.
And that is unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next, we have second reading of policy.
We have two policies with no changes from last month.
Any discussion that we need to have on those? That would look for a motion.
Well, I move that we accept the second reading of the two policies stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have discussion and consideration to support HCTC's submission of the integrated consolidated 9-16 facility application.
So I kind of give you the preamble to why they're looking at this application. So this pot of money, this integrated consolidated, is really set aside for areas where you are closing a high school and combining to make, like, if you were to close a high school and combine a bunch of schools into one, you need to build a bigger high school to accommodate, so you are running just one school as opposed to maybe two smaller high schools, or three smaller high schools. So I honestly have no idea why they said that they should have HCTC apply for this. Other than-
I mean, their enrollment's up and they're
Well,
combining
You're not
schools.
consolidating.
We are combining
What the
schools.
argument is, and what we're trying to, what they told us that we should try and convince, so to say, is that we don't qualify, we're so far down on that other list that we're not gonna get one. And that we really do not have, a lot of these schools are actually building their tech centers inside of a high school. So like if you go to Noble, their high school has their CTE center attached to it. So when they're building a new high school, they're attaching a brand new CTE center. And basically, we're saying geographically, that doesn't make a lot of sense
Right.
for us to do that.
Built it here.
We
I
have
don't
plenty
think
of
we wanna take
space.
on-
Yeah.
We have so much
Because
space.
We don't wanna take.
Be careful, because this is not a fully
But Jerry will
funded,
be
this is not a fully funded project, Ellsworth will still be.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Give this to Amy.
So I think that is kind of the way that they are trying to angle this, is that we don't really have a high school that we can shut down, add a CTE center onto it, and have a brand new one. Because Ellsworth is still a pretty new building, there's just, our geography doesn't make sense for that. So they said to apply for it anyways, and said that there's at least a semi-decent chance that we will be considered for this. What I asked for clarification on behalf of the board is that I wanted assurances that they would not be looking to close our satellite welding center, which we have made big investments into, as has HCTC. If they were approved
In Sumner's carpentry.
in Sumner's carpentry program, we were, the advisory committee, including Mrs. Bowles and Mr. Tracy, said that is not enough, but they want to keep this, they want to honor their partnerships and their investments in their satellite. So even though we are getting a new building, welding would still be here. And carpentry would still be at Sumner.
Has any consideration been given as to where this new building is located?
Not to my knowledge, I don't know.
Maybe Amy is.
I think there is, and I actually have a little bit of idea, but I don't dare say in case it's not.
So, has anyone asked what would be the new financial commitment of our schools?
So there is, Ellsworth is gonna take on a majority of this, in terms of the building itself. We would, obviously, when you look at the overall expenses of HCTC, that gets dispersed amongst the partner schools.
Yeah, because I mean, we get an assessment essentially.
Correct.
And so I'm just wondering how much higher assessment It's all of a
Do we
sudden,
know how much of this would be forgiven?
So that's all part of the application process, and when they award it to a school, and then it kind of lets, based on the project, they let you know how much they will award to that, so I don't think I have a good answer for that, Tom, because they don't know how much that award will be. We would not see a substantial, like, it's not gonna drive our tuition cost for per student up to double or triple, like, that's kind of, obviously, the town of Ellsworth, they want this to happen.
Yeah.
They can't build a brand new one all on their own, and, so their school district would take on run just like they do with this building, but there's an operating cost that gets shared amongst all the schools that creates, like you said, basically it's an assessment.
it's an
There's a
assessment.
per pupil cost.
Yeah.
That we spreads out.
I really value what my daughter has gone through. That program has been very valuable to her. I didn't know much about HCTC at all until she started to go there. So, I focused on here, I didn't really focus on there. And so, you know, I didn't know what they did, but now that she's been going there, I've been paying a lot more attention. And when he told me that they wanted a new building, I kind of thought that was strange because the facility isn't all that bad. So I don't, myself, really know what the need is.
Some of the programs, really like diesel.
Yeah.
They
So I
have no
mean,
room for diesel at all.
she does nursing.
Right.
And there's a classroom, and there are, you know, the mannequins that they train on. And the facility is as nice as very expensive colleges for that program. I don't know what the other programs are. And so, you know, but I do know here, in this very building, when I first started to run for school board, we had an idea of spending an enormous amount of money on this particular building to do things that were not educationally, you know, in mind at all, just to make the building nicer. And I like to pride myself in thinking that I helped to put the kibosh to that. And we still have a very nice building, which does great things and is able to allow us to pay teachers to actually educate people instead of just having a nice fancy building. So I'm kind of in limbo as to, are we just trying to generate a nice pretty building in Ellsworth? Or are we actually trying to make a facility that actually helps to educate students? And I don't have the answer to that in my own head yet.
Do they want to expand the building so that they can expand programs? So they can add programs?
It's a combination,
Okay.
It's a combination, yes.
And they're not gonna be getting rid of the entire building necessarily, or like, I don't know the layout down there.
But they are looking at a new building.
A completely new building.
Yeah. What I will say to answer, I think both of your questions at the same time, depending on the program, and if you haven't had a chance to go through the building, it's hard to kind of describe what I'm talking about, but if you've gone to some other CTE centers, whether it be UTC in Bangor, or some of the ones in Southern Maine, and you look at one that has the bigger space to do, and I guess I can use our welding shop as a little bit of an example. You know, we have 18 booths down there now, but we have 18 welders on top of each other, you know, when they're welding.
So it's too tight.
It's tight. We make it work, but it's tight. We could have, and we used to only have 14 welders in there, but we were able to add booths inside that space, putting in that new weld abatement system that we're able to get to, and now we're up to 18, which gets us 36 students in there, 18 in the morning, 18 in the afternoon, which means we get more subsidy for those students to get in, which brings our cost per pupil down, which is a good thing. They would be able to get more people in. I don't think you'd see any huge in the medical assistant program, in the nursing program. You're not gonna see, the new classroom is gonna be, I think the jump from where we are now to the new classroom, you're not gonna see the leaps and bounds. But in the automotive and the diesel program, especially where we just need space to get more kids in to do the training that we want and train them on the equipment that is actually being used in the industry.
They're not even
We need more
using
lifts,
diesel,
bro.
they're not even working on a diesel truck, they're doing things on a computer,
Right.
simulating, so they're not even getting really hands-on like they should.
Yeah.
But is that a building or is that equipment?
Oh, no, there's no room for,
You can't put
So
the,
it
you
isn't,
gotta put
you can't put
a
the
diesel
equipment.
truck inside there and there's no room for it.
You need a whole new garage.
And this is the, I don't
right,
know, I just,
It's
I
worth
want
going
to.
down sometime and,
Yeah.
and visiting and,
Culinary's another one where they have a kitchen, it's not, like they can do it, but it's not a robust, like as big, and they could get more people. We have wait lists in certain programs. Diesel automotive is always a really popular one, and then they also want to, I mean, we are not able to run an electrical, like a combined program, like electrical plumbing program like they want to, where you can come in and you get a little bit of everything in there.
That's one that should.
And we just, and again, the fact that we don't have that type of training at our CTE center is.
So what we're actually looking for is to be able to expand the program, to be able to facilitate more students,
House equipment.
house equipment, and be able to make this facility more up to date and not just create
beautification.
a fancy new building that might beautify elsewhere.
You know, when we got.
All right,
If you
then I'm
remember.
good, I'm good.
I hear what you're saying,
I
John.
just wanted to know that, because it's always easy to buy a new building. Because somebody else is gonna pay for it, or we're gonna pay for it down the road. But if it isn't, you know, helping out students, I'm not interested. But if we're actually going to be helping out students, then I'm very interested. I wanted to know that.
Absolutely.
What will they do with their old building
I don't know.
if that,
I mean, they will go through.
I think they should convert it to a deaf and blind school system.
They would go through a process like you would do anything with the town in terms of,
like, I wonder if they would have, is it not efficient to have two schools, like, they couldn't just,
more buildings is bad typically, just in terms
I
of,
was gonna ask.
yeah, it's just really
Transportation
tough.
would be a
I
nightmare.
mean,
Much
building
sadder.
a smaller building somewhere else that would only house 2 or 3 programs, you just don't have the efficiencies that make that really sustainable over time. You're way better off in the long run of having one building that
I mean, it
houses.
isn't gonna become the new behavioral unit.
Right, yeah. So we want to really look at, when we're doing this is, I think to what your point on is, I think it will enhance our programming and expand opportunities over time.
So it's gonna be built for expansion.
What's that?
It's gonna be built for expansion, for drawing more instructors for a new building, I'm sure, and new students. Yeah.
Whatever
I think that
happened
makes a lot of
to it was pre-COVID, the group of business people that wanted to,
Well, so they
That
just
just
kind of, they can't themselves as a business, they still want to invest in this. And this is where it's all originated. You had this group of investors in that community that wanted, they don't have the workforce. ACTC provides their workforce for them. So they're investing in that to try to build their workforce, but they can't put the capital to build a brand new school. So they're willing to invest X amount of dollars, and I don't know what that X is.
no, and we even heard much from them.
No, and then, and the town, would, invest X, but they need the big portion of Y from this other funding source to balance it out, so.
So
What
then I've
program are they
got only one
utilizing?
other line
The
that
investors.
I wanna make sure.
Everything.
If we move to this list, does that take us off of the other list?
No,
Okay.
you apply every year for either list.
Okay.
So this,
So it isn't that suddenly, because we did this and then they say no, we moved from 14 to 97th or something, or not.
But
Okay.
those, that other list, even though it's like, what, 16, 17, where we are, that's a long way.
you might as well be 90 if you're at 17.
Yeah, none of us will see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
I definitely. You said it.
so again, I think this is still very much a long shot, but it gets them out there.
This will make them, with our support, it'll help that application look better to the people that are gonna fund it, because they know that the sending schools are willing to
You're
be
looking
part
for
of this.
support from all the sending
Yeah,
schools, right?
it doesn't sign us up for anything financially at this point in time,
No,
and,
it's just really for
It
them to
is looking for
submit
our
submit the application.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be, the reason we wanna have an actual motion and so that we can have minutes that we can send to them, and work with official action on.
Well, it is a great program and I'm
Yeah, no,
very much in favor of it. And if it's going to help more children, then I'm good.
Tom, my son went there 31 years ago.
Wow.
And-
Oh my gosh.
And okay, I'm not gonna say, no, but I mean, it's just changed his whole life.
Yeah, I'm a mom to an HCTC graduate too, and he's doing amazing, and that program just did so much for him. And honestly, when I'm hearing these numbers about how enrollment is so up there, I'm thinking to myself, how is that building accommodating all of these people? So I can see where this conversation is relevant.
The problem is then they graduate and there's nowhere to live affordably here, so that's, I think, why we're losing this workforce. But
Yeah.
I'm not against it, I'm just saying, I think there's other
Unless if you
problems.
become a psych nurse, I've seen what those people get paid.
Well, anywhere
Which
in
case
nursing is
then
gonna be an
She can kick me
exception,
out of my
but-
house and she will be more than I am.
Well, I move that we support a CTC submission for the Integrated Consolidated Times 16 facility application.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor? That is unanimous, thank you.
And I will update you on that application process as I get information on it from Amy and Bill.
Great. Next, we've got discussion and consideration to accept a bid for purchase of a new plow truck.
So we talked about a little bit about this during finance. So we have those two bids and I believe everyone has copies of them. Yes? Okay. So the two bids that you have in front of you are, one is for a Chevy plow truck. One is for a Dodge plow truck. The Chevy coming from Darlings and then the Dodge Ram coming from Quirk. These were the only two bids that we received. As you can see, there is about a $2,600 difference between the two vehicles. Outside of the price difference, in terms of what packages you have there for the vehicles, the size of the plow, all that stuff is negligible. I mean, we're really looking at the difference between a Chevy and a Dodge Ram. And as we talked about, pretty in-depth, have facilities, and a little bit everybody's going to have a viewpoint on whatever vehicle they had good experience with or didn't have experience with. And, you know, and I think that's always tough, especially when you're talking about vehicles. You know, if these were two, I don't know, something that we didn't know anything about, that we didn't have personal experience with, you know, it sometimes makes it a little bit easier. I think sometimes when we have some personal experience, it makes these discussions a little more.
Well, what convinced me was what the mechanic said.
Right.
It's a $2,600 difference.
And the history, because we've had
Right.
knowledge in the
And
history.
that's-
Right.
Yeah.
I will say that my plow guy has driven Chevys the entire time he's been plowing my driveways.
How many of
That's
them?
what the mechanic.
How many of the driveways?
I-
No,
All
how many
driveways.
Chevys have he had?
He's had 2 in the past 12 years.
So I can
14
really
years.
just give you in terms of, and like I said, I get no kickback from either dealership. I have no stake in this game
You won't be
at
driving
all.
your own vehicle.
would
I
like
know
to
David is
see
the only one
them
that's gonna have to
match.
listen to the mechanics if something does break down on one of them that
Listen,
they
can we
were not happy
keep
with.
him and just get the Chevy?
I will say that, again, the only two pieces of information that I can pass along to you is that we have had issues with the one Dodge Ram plow truck that we've had. We have repaired the frame twice, and the mechanic that is working on it says that our best bet. He knows way more about it than I do. Again, if you say that, if you voted that you wanna go with the lower one for the Dodge, we buy the Dodge and I just said we need to buy a plow truck so we can get this process going, so we can have one ready to go for the start of the school year. We have the money budgeted, this week's planning money.
We should get a diesel and then have the HCTC kids can work.
There's no room to pack it.
There's no room to park it.
So.
No, here.
Again, in regards to the deal, the corporation, we haven't dealt in particular with Quirk. We have done a little bit with Darlings, they've treated us pretty well over the years and different stuff that they've had in terms of supporting some of our initiatives. Again, but all that stuff is pretty negligible. If you were asking me for a recommendation, I would lean towards what my mechanic is, the person that's gonna be the one that's gonna looking at it every day. But again, I also get it's $2,600, so if you want to take the lesser of the two bids, I understand that too.
I'm inclined to trust the mechanic on this one.
Me too.
I'm inclined to trust the engineering as well.
Looking for a motion?
Keith, how do you
I'm
feel
looking
about
for a
it?
motion, so you can make the motion, pick whichever you bring.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Keith?
He doesn't want either, I guess.
No, I just
That's
want
right.
to know. I know he doesn't want either, can give the kids a shovel when they get to school.
Listen, if you're not in
Exercise,
Japan,
you can help with the gym class.
Oh, there you go. Well, I move that we accept the Chevy bid from Darlings as a plow truck.
All right, we have a motion for a Chevy plow truck in the price of $58,877 from Darling Chevrolet. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? 2. All right, and motion passes for Darling Chevrolet
Isn't there funding for that too, like funding?
Chevy Silverado.
What's that?
Is there a funding of 21,000?
So, we've agreed on this purchase price, I will now go to Darlings, and we will look to finance it for 3 years. So, we have 21,000 to pay for this year, but we also have.
so real quick, they
Wait,
put
wait,
a,
Joe, hold on just a second, I got question here, so we're looking to finance it for 3 years. We have budgeted $21,000 for this year, to pay that first payment.
Right.
But we also budgeted an additional $12,000 to buy a plow.
Okay.
So if when we do this financing and taxes and everything, it comes out to be more than 21,000, we're okay because we have that $12,000 and we can, what we will do is I will buy down the price, so we'll be at that 20, so we're not gonna see a spike over the next 2 years. We use the $12,000 to buy down the purchase price and get it. Yeah, good.
So they put in the bids, is there any way we can talk them down?
Again, ethically, once we get a bid, we have to take the bids at face value, so I can't go back and negotiate. What I will do is I will go to Darlings and just,
I mean,
we'll
like,
accept
if
this.
you say they're offering a truck this much,
Again, we can't do that because we
Is this
accepted the.
including a plow, is that why
Bargaining
the
with
12,000?
We did talk about waiting and have them resubmit another bid, waiting 30 more days, but this is getting close to.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can do is I can go back to Darrell and say, we've accepted this bid, we're gonna do that. We would like you to throw in
Set a
a deadline. Or, like, yeah, you did come in higher, we accepted this bid. I'm not negotiating it down, but I would like you to throw in something additional to this at no cost because we're a school.
You should at least ask for a hat.
So. But you can't negotiate.
we want a rack, baby, we want a rack.
Okay,
Fuel for a year.
all right.
All right,
We need something to hold on to.
What will happen with the old truck,
Put the pussy ropes on it.
The old truck, we'll go through
for
our.
like backup or?
It's not really in the condition to be a backup, I mean, we'll talk in terms of if there's a use for it. But then we have the options that we can sell the stuff off and we have a.
So that might
We have to
offset a
offer it
little
to
bit
the
too.
communities first.
Yeah.
Part of our policy, we offer it to the communities to bid on first,
Yeah.
and then,
If we're gonna sell it.
and then it would go through open bid process.
That's a policy we have.
Oh, I mean, I don't want it, I was just curious.
I know someone
are
that
you
might.
sure Bill doesn't want to start plowing but driveways?
Well, I
We
don't
were
know.
pretty much
Ask
told by the
him.
town that they didn't want that, so.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been told that's not what you want, so I don't.
All right.
I don't know someone that might want to.
Next, we've got administrator reports from Christine.
Dr. Tripp puts my data presentation at the end of an agenda. Next year, I'll try to make it more entertaining for you. Because I know you're tired.
I still have to pack, come on now.
Aaron and Miles.
I gotta go to Portland tomorrow.
I'll make it for you.
Were those Larry's dogs?
Oh, I just wasn't looking, I was looking at Erin.
All right, so it's that time of year again for me to give the state-required annual update to our school board and our public using our data from the spring of 24-25. So I have district level data that I always share with you, and then I have the ESSA state accountability data. So I'm gonna share with you this evening. So just as a recap, because many of you around the table have heard this from me many times, so we do use the NWEA data locally. It is considered our universal screening tool in our district for grades K through 10. K through 8 students take the NWEA 3 times a year, so we do it fall, winter, and spring, and then in grades 9 and 10, we give the NWEA in the fall and the spring. We use the local portion of this data in a variety of ways. We use it to customize our instruction, we use it for flexible grouping purposes. We also use it to provide extensions, enrichment, and interventions to students who need it. So we use it a lot in our GT identification, we use it in our RTI when we are creating intervention plans. We use it in a variety of ways. We share the information with parents. So if you're a parent and you haven't gotten your fall family report yet, you will be soon. We are finishing up testing. And so those fall reports for this fall's data will be coming to you shortly. By now, I think, I'm gonna look at Sue because I never get to see Sue anymore. But I believe that we're pretty much through getting all of our individual student reports for the state accountability data that we got.
Oh, yeah,
Those are all sent out. Sue is doing wonderful things for me over at central office.
Thanks.
So I appreciate that, thank you very much. So remember, this is the spring data that you're looking at right now. So these kindergarten students are currently first grade students at Miles Lane. So in reading, we had 89% of our kindergartners scoring in the average or higher band.
Nice.
And in math, 81%. And just remember that you have the median scores here, so 67th percentile for reading and 81st percentile for math. But what I'm talking about when I say average or higher, it encompasses the yellow, green, and blue bands together. Because for national norms, anything in the 41st percentile to the 60th percentile is considered in that average band. And then we get to high, average, and high. And then the orange would be the low, average, and then the red would be low, just so that you have that information.
So just before you go on.
Yes.
What's the number in low now?
Can you say that again, Tom?
Low in math, he just wants to know what that is.
You wanna know?
There's
Down here in the
there's
red?
no hope of being able to see that
It's
number.
okay, trust me, I can't see that. 8%.
8%.
Yeah.
So what are we doing for those kids?
Yep, so this was their data in the spring, and so when I can share with you, actually, I think I might have put Miles Lane in my board report this month, because I think I had Miles Lane. I gave you the fall data in my report, but I'll share it out a little bit better with you next time. So that 8%, sometimes those are our kiddos who have IEPs, and they might be receiving services in mathematics specifically. May or may not be the case. They might be students who we're providing interventions for that we're trying to get to that next band. So we are providing interventions or services for those students.
Okay.
And I checked that to make sure.
All right.
I am on it. And then remember, over the past couple of years, I've wanted to share with you that I think it's not only important to look at a moment in time, but also growth of a student over the course of a year. So what percentage of our students are meeting their projected growth in their RIT score from the fall 2024 to the spring 2025 for that kindergarten cohort? So when they took the test in the fall and then when they took it in the spring, we get nationally normed information on where our students should be by the end of the year if they're kind of following their normal path. And what we're looking for is about, across the country, it's about 50% of the population will meet or exceed their projected RIT growth. So this is very good information because this particular cohort of students, 73% of them met or exceeded their projected RIT growth from fall to spring, and 66% in math. In reading, sorry. When we're looking for 50%. And then this is the Miles Lane, I can't make it bigger, sorry. This is the Miles Lane School reading data from the spring. So these are our current second, third, fourth, and fifth grade. And so we have the percentage of students scoring in the average or higher band, 62% first graders, 62% second, strong, showing for our third graders from the spring, 71%, and then 67% for fourth graders who are now at that school. And then you can also see their median, 54th percentile, 46th, 63rd, and 50th. I'm gonna keep going unless you interrupt me, okay? Because I have a lot of information for you. This is our math, and you heard me talk about that's something that we're really trying to focus more heavily on is our math, because that does tend to be an area that our scores are not as strong. But I did share all of this information with the Curriculum Steering Committee, so a few of you have already heard this. These are stronger scores than what we were seeing in the past couple of years. So we are trending in the right direction. There are some things in here that we've talked about as administrators and as teachers together that, we're gonna work to improve. But we have 57% of our first graders, 60% of our second, 56% third, and 54% of our fourth graders scoring the average or higher band in the spring. For math. Again, I like to look at our percentage of students who are meeting their projected RIT growth. And again, we're kind of looking for that about 50%. This is fall to spring. And remember, over the past couple of years, the state has taken the NWEA testing product, and they've changed it in the spring, right? So they tweaked it and added some grade level questions in a computer adaptive test, and they've mixed those in there. So sometimes it's hard for us to take fall to spring and get an accurate read, but the state does it. So it's important for us to look at it because that is what they're using for accountability is fall to spring growth.
What does RIT stand for again? Come on,
I know,
Christina.
I'm a little tired.
Okay. You're tired?
Something.
You're tired having two olds?
Josh, can you put up?
Yeah, Roush unit.
Roush unit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like when you are measuring your child's growth on when they're
On a board
right,
and
yeah,
in
exactly.
The
Right, exactly. This is just like it's really hard to explain statistically.
Fair.
Okay.
Keep going.
Thank you. I can give you more information if you want.
Maybe if I show up to the next meeting, yeah.
The next curriculum year.
Right.
And then this is the spring to spring because I prefer to look at spring to spring. It's the same test, basically, same style of test when you look at their spring to spring information. So you do see some kind of concerning things there that you could problem solve, and I do because that's what you hired me to do, and so I like to do this stuff. We won't go into it tonight because you can hear all night, but I looked at this, right, that 28% of the growth from our grade 2 spring to our grade 3 spring, what's going on with that, so I dig a little bit deeper into that information.
Are you
But then
finding
look at their reading.
Yeah, look at that, yeah.
Cohort,
Are you
right?
finding
So-
some helpful information as you're digging?
Yeah, and I think it's been helpful for us as a math committee, which we still have more work to do there. Our math committee spent some time on looking at, we talked about this before, our sequence of when we're doing our units, how much time are we spending on certain units? Because again, any program that you purchase, which we did, spends a little bit of time on a lot of things, right? And it doesn't always dive as deep into those core skills that we would need them to have. So we did do some work on pacing guides to make sure that we are hitting heavily those standards that we know our kids need to get as precursors for later learning. So, yeah.
So are you finding I mean, you replaced the math program with a new program. Are you finding this new program is actually able to meet what we need it to do?
With some
I mean, I don't see a
adjustments.
50 on any one of those.
Yep, with some adjustments, Tom, and Josh and I have talked about this, the administrators and I have talked about this.
It's a real concern of mine.
Yeah,
We can't maintain higher level mathematics at the high school level if we can't do basic math at the elementary level.
Yeah.
This has been an ongoing problem.
it has, however.
We had a mathematics program. I know the teachers didn't like it, but it came out with at least semi-decent scores. We now have a program which doesn't seem to be accomplishing that fact. How are we going to fix this?
So we've been supplementing, Tom, is what we've been doing. So we have been working really
So we bought
hard.
a fancy mathematics program, which we now have to put something on top of, because it just didn't cut the mustard.
Yes. To the full extent that we would want it to. So we have been taking our pacing guide and reorganizing it, because again, but I think you're gonna get this with any program, like no program replaces good teaching. And no program can replace what we need for professional development, and no program is going to be the end all be all. Unfortunately, those programs cost a lot of money, like these curriculum
No
program
kidding.
companies are spending,
No kidding.
charging a lot of
So
money.
why did we replace the one that we had? We spent a lot of money on
I
that.
know. I can tell you why we did, it was before I was in this role, but why we did at the time, from what I understand, is because the Math and Focus program that we were using then, had gone out of print. And so then there was a team, I was not on it, but there was a team of folks that met and reviewed several programs, and it did go through the curriculum committee at the time, and this was the program that was chosen.
We weren't gonna be able to get materials to buy replacement textbooks and the workbooks that went along with Math and Focus at the time, so they were gonna have to do something, and then they changed their, because that was a Singapore math-based,
It was Singapore based, yeah?
and they went in a different direction.
I guess all that I'm trying to say is this. At the beginning of this meeting, I told you how proud I was about the fact that I've got 3 children that have been able to go out and do whatever they want to because of this school system. I want to make sure that that opportunity exists for every student who's coming up through. If we've got a crap math program which isn't capable of doing that, and that's why we're seeing 20% growth when we should be seeing 50, I want our curriculum committee to find us a new program. And if that isn't the case, we just need to supplement this and get our teachers to teach it properly. And I want that to happen. But I don't want to see these numbers come up again. Mathematics, and I know I keep harping on this, and maybe I'm just a math geek, but mathematics allows a child to be able to make choices that they otherwise wouldn't be able to have when they get on in their life. We pride ourselves at being great at teaching English. But if I've got a 6th grade reading comprehension, I can probably get through just fine. But if I can't do mathematics to a level of that same level, I'm not going to be able to do anything. And I'm just frustrated at how we keep falling back on priding ourselves at how good we do in literacy at the elementary level and totally not paying any attention to mathematics. And I'm sorry if I'm coming off as being mean about it, but this is a culmination of 18 years of me saying the same thing over and over and over again. We have to have good math. And if we just don't have the program that can do it, we need to look at another program.
I think to complement what you're saying, Tom, I know the work that, in terms of what we were talking about in supplements, if we look at, because I think we've seen math scores that have struggled, ups and downs and different, regardless of the math program. But to me, what has always been interesting, and again, mostly as the high school principals, when we hit that 9th, 10th grade year, we start to see the NWA scores. Right, so that end game, and to me, is just interesting, because it's the same students, but they're getting it just kind of all comes together at a later date, and I don't really know why that is, to be honest with you. But eventually we see those scores, but we saw very similar trends with the math and focus one at the time. And then you see a bump, because we reorder, you get geometry into the front, because remember we were seeing a downfall in some of our,
Right.
it was geometry at one point, and then numbers and operations was doing really well, so we tried to flip-flop them, scope and sequence, and then the focus and their adaptive test was changing. So I feel like we have a little bit of a moving target with that at times, and we need to figure that component out. I don't think spending another $110,000 on another math program right now is the right answer, because I think we would be doing the same thing with that as identifying, you know what I mean, the gaps.
What kind of changes are we trying to make right now to try to increase these numbers? Are there any specific things that you're doing right this minute?
Yes. So we're spending an awful lot more time on numbers and operations and algebraic thinking, because those are the weaknesses that we have found.
Okay.
Right, so we are working really, I say we, right? Administrators, teachers are working really hard at analyzing data and drilling down to see what the issue is, right? Because Josh is right, it is a moving target, let's just be honest. The state has changed this test several times. Like, we're trying, and not an excuse, it's just the way it is. And so we're shifting as they do that, but we are drilling down deep. So we use many, and Sylvia's here, she can vouch for this, we use many of our PLCs and have over the past couple of years, especially this year, analyzing data. Like analyzing data from math cool downs that we're doing and math tests and this data and IXL data. Like, we have all this data and we're using that to make decisions in the moment. So we're changing our intervention groups as we need to change them. We're flexibly grouping students. We are doing those things. Tara and I have talked about what we can do for our special education population, what's the program, because that is different, right? The special education program that some of our students are getting is working on their IEP goals. They're still getting their math in their classroom, but they're going to special education services in math and working on their math IEP goals. And those students are making the growth that they can make at that time. It's not necessarily gonna show that they're meeting 50%, right? But they are making that growth. And actually, I do have to say, and I said this to the curriculum steering committee, I was actually impressed. Like, this data is better than the data we had last year, overall. You're gonna see in just a minute when I flip to the middle school, lower scores, right? And then you're gonna see, just like Josh said, the high school scores look better. But we've been seeing that too, right? So BMS has been on tier 3 since 2018. And it's been for math, right? And that has not been for the lack of work that we're doing, the work that we're putting in, the training that we're having our teachers do. We know that developmentally, things happen in middle school that affect those. It does, I mean, it does. We are working really hard. Kids are working really hard.
It's a really hard time in life.
It is, I was
Middle school
sitting
worse
here
than high
wondering
school.
that, yeah.
But I totally hear you, Tom.
When
And
it comes to
how many times, Josh, have you and I had this conversation, right? Like, we have.
And I'm not taking offense
Yeah.
to you
No, I know.
at all.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is, every student in this earth, when they get to middle school, has an issue. But we have this program, which goes elementary to middle school. We don't have it when we get to our high school. Suddenly, we see an acceleration when we get to our high school. I find that to be an interesting similarity.
Maturation.
And
I just have a worry that perhaps we have made an inappropriate investment in the program. I know when Jen Tyne picked, because she was the one that picked that Singapore math program, that we all signed on to it because she was a math professor at the university and she knew what she was talking about, and none of the rest of us did, and so we just said, good, you go to it, Jen. She picked it. The teachers did not like it. But it did have performative effects. We replaced it with something the teachers liked. And I have not seen beneficial effects. So that's my concern with that program. And I know I'm not going to be here forever. And I know my kids are gone out of this, and so I shouldn't care, but I do. I really want to see the kids that are coming up through be able to benefit the same way that my kids did. Being able to have the top of the line program so that they have the same opportunities afforded to them when they graduate from here that my children were able to have. I think that, to me, is very important. And if somehow I made a mistake, just totally possible, that happens all the time. My wife reminds me constantly. And I approved a program that isn't just up to snuff. And that's the reason why we're having this problem. And it's $100,000 to fix it. Well, you wanna know what? That's 2 plow trucks. 2 plow trucks to be able to get our kids a program which gives the same opportunities that my children have. I'm happy to pay that. And I'm the tightest SOB that there is around.
Have you met Keith?
Yeah, it's a plow truck and a tractor too, not just 2 plow trucks.
And we are not, I think our biggest thing is we wanna make sure that we've examined everything and not, because I think the easy thing is to blame the program and make sure that we have supplemented it with, and it very well could be done at the end of the day. I mean, it could be, that's what we come to, but I think what we really wanna make sure that we are doing is have we put enough professional development surrounding it and the appropriate professional development surrounding the teaching practices to make sure that we are setting our teachers and our students up for success inside of that.
And to Christina's point, I don't think there is another program that's been identified as this is the one. This is gonna be hitting all the pieces. And if there were, that might be a very different discussion too. I mean, it might be worth looking into, I'm not saying it's not, but I don't think that we have, I don't know of any that anyone said, oh, well, you should just be using this one. Why aren't you using this one?
Yeah, well, this is our focus. I mean, this is what we are, I mean, all cards are gonna be on the table of what can be done to help make this better. And again, whether it's program, professional development, supplemental materials,
How students learn.
scope and sequence, you know, all that stuff is on the table. And the answer is everything, right? Like it's pieces of all of it, you know.
I just know from being here and being through these meetings over the years, there are some kids in that red band, they live in that red band. And we do everything we possibly can, and they're gonna be in that red band. And there's some kids who are in the yellow band, and they're gonna be in the yellow band. And that, I get that, and I understand that, and I might not like it, but that's the way that it is, and I get that. But what has always been hard for me has been the disparity between those 2 columns that we've got there, particularly you get down to that third one that you pointed out. at 62%, those aren't the kids that are, not paying attention or not able or shouldn't have been in that grade and should have stayed back another year. Those are perfectly able kids.
Kids are different these days.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, kids are not any different than they ever used to be. Kids are kids. Those kids that are the 62% reading, we should see a similar number in math. There's no real discernible difference between those two things. The kids should be able to at least be close. It's somehow our delivery model. I really seriously believe that. You look at the grade before it, those numbers are identical. And that's what I would come to expect that there should be. So there's something in that second grade that our delivery model is not right. Maybe it's our curriculum. Our curriculum might be deficient somewhere. But it also might be the way that we deliver that curriculum. And if that's the case, then it is. It's just a case of that we've got to train our teachers. We've got to make some focus on it, and that's fine.
Did a big change happen between the line that says grade 1 and grade 2 and then the line that says grade 2 and grade 3?
I mean-
See how the lower two have bigger disparities between the numbers, but they're much closer in the math and reading columns in the upper two. So what happened that couple of years ago?
I mean, I think and we've talked about third and fourth grade, right? Like, we do see, our district sees a slip in third grade. We've seen that. However, the data that we got from the third graders this past spring, who are our current fourth graders, is some of the strongest I've seen. So when I'm looking at their data right now, this fall, they're one of our strongest classes. So that's interesting to me because this is that same class of kids, okay, right? Because they were third graders in the spring. They were second graders in the spring before that. So they are currently our fourth graders. And both of their reading and math is showing well. The norms have changed, which we haven't even talked about, but the norms have changed across the country because every 5 years, data is collected and the bell curve shifts. And it has from 2020 to 2025. We know that. And so that helps the norms as well. But if you were to look in my board report, I think I do believe, and I was not dreaming this, I put it in there, our fall data. You will see that the fourth grade, the current fourth grade class, this group,
Recording in progress.
So if somebody's already strong in math and they don't have a lot of room to grow, that unfortunately negatively affects that too. I'm not saying that that's
right.
the whole cause, but if you have a student that is getting top scores, they actually negatively affect your writ growth because they're not growing, or they're not growing, there's not much for them to do.
There's nowhere for them to grow.
Yeah.
This is their growth data, right?
Yeah, so, right, we
So
can't
the fact
compare
that
that
we have
20% to
percentages of
75%.
growth, it's good.
Because that's
Oh, okay, so we're looking at apples and oranges.
Right, if you go back here.
We're talking about apples and oranges right now.
Is that
Yeah.
60% of those kids,
It's confusing because we live in different years and different tests and
which is totally.
state data versus our data and.
But we were
Go back,
expecting, but we
I'm
were,
trying, get back.
but, no, I do need to understand something here.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to be just such a pain about this. If we go back to that growth data,
Right.
it had been my understanding, and perhaps that was wrong, that the target on the growth was 50%.
So the national average would be that 50% of kids would make their growth targets, yes.
And so this is saying not, so again, maybe I missed a slip.
Okay.
The 50% isn't the number we should be looking here for. This isn't 28% of them met their growth targets.
Yes, 28% of them met their growth targets.
But we are still looking for
Okay,
50%.
so no, because I heard somewhere in the crowd that this was 28% growth, not 28% made their growth targets.
Okay, so I think we're talking about two different things.
That's why I'm confused.
So, yep, so let me try to explain it. Hopefully I can explain it in a way that makes sense. So when these kids took their test in the spring of 2024, right, when they were, let's take that population of kids, they were second graders. And then when they took it as third graders in the spring of 2025, the growth we were hoping that they would make from that spring to the following spring would be about 50% of them should have met their growth targets.
Okay,
Only 28% did.
and so I'm gonna just put out an example here.
Yeah.
So like Jack,
Mhm.
who was always way above grade level.
Yes.
His growth potential was like
Yes.
0.05 or something like
Yes.
that. Where me, who was like not even close,
Mhm.
my growth potential might have been 100 because I was no good.
Further to go.
So if he got 0.25,
Mhm.
he would have been at 50% of his growth target. And if I got maybe 50, I might be 50% of my growth target. We didn't have to grow the same amount
Right,
to get to our percentage of growth target.
right.
Right, so it isn't that 28% means that we had a lot of brilliant, gifted kids that only had to grow 2% to get up to something. It is 28% means that that gifted child might have only gotten 0.2%, and numbnuts over here like me only got 20% of the 100. And that's how we got to the 28% instead of the 50% that we were hoping to target. Correct.
28% of our kids met or exceeded their projections.
Okay, so it isn't that we could possibly have a lower number because we had a lot of smart kids that just didn't have any room to grow.
I mean, not necessarily, right?
It all can affect it. I mean, there's.
So many things that could affect it.
Yeah.
And the population changes. So we do have a mobility rate in the district. So the class of second graders that were the class of second graders in the spring of 2024 is not the exact same kids, right? Most of them are, but we have move-ins and move-outs, and so that does change it when you look at a cohort, so.
That is true, but if we consistently see
Mhm.
in a grade
Yep,
that we have a dip,
yes.
no matter who goes into it,
Mhm.
then there must be something amiss
Yes.
with our delivery system,
Yes.
one way or another.
Yeah, and just because I do look at this stuff so much, Tom, I want you to know that a lot.
And I know you do.
Too much.
I know you do, and you
Right.
know I've given you trouble about this.
It's
And
okay.
we've had this discussion back and
We
forth.
have, yes.
All
But
right.
I want you to know that, like, so for example, I was looking, before I knew I was gonna be in the building full time, I was looking at the data at Miles Lane for the incoming third graders. It's our biggest class, right? There's like 92 of them. There's a lot of kids in that class right now, that's the biggest. And I was like, I'm concerned about this. Like, I see some things that we really need to problem solve before those third grade teachers have them, right? So I met with that team. I'm like, let's take a look at this. This is what we met and we talked about reading and we talked about math, because there were some things in both that I was noticing. And so I said, you know, we've gotta come up with a plan because we're gonna need to flexibly group our kids in a different way based on the data that we've gathered. So we met before the school year even ended, before they even had they didn't even have their rosters yet. And we were problem solving. And then we met at the end of August and we problem solved again. So we're doing that work to see what we can do. Because I think it's like Josh said, it's more than just a program. That could be a piece of it. I'm not gonna say it's not. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not crazy about the program.
I'm actually hoping it's not. I'd like to not pay the money. But what I'm saying is if it is, if you identified that it was, I, cheapest human being on earth, am happy to go and do something about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just don't wanna make I don't wanna make a quick decision about, I mean.
I keep stealing that title from you.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I do take offense to it.
You're second cheapest, thank you.
But again, as you have in your report, every grade
Yes.
has a snapshot of how they performed on the fall was 57% or higher
Yes.
in math. Which is at least encouraging. It doesn't say anything about growth, but
No,
just
but
whether they're made the
Moment in time,
this fall, which is encouraging based on even just not the growth numbers, but we saw on the previous math.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We good? For right now?
Good enough right now.
Can I move on?
Just wait until you get to the
That's it,
next.
you're not gonna like it.
Please move on.
I feel bad for her, cause like, what you're doing now is what I do in the curriculum committee, so she gets to like double barrel. I feel
That's
bad
good,
for
that's
her.
good, Keith, I'm
You know,
glad
I
to
can
hear
take
that.
it. I can take it.
And she's already prepared, like, it's not
I
like
do.
this is something that isn't,
I know,
She hasn't
there's
already
been
known.
no
I
deer
have
in
that,
headlights
like,
yet,
proceed.
that's pretty good.
Proceed.
no, she's,
Okay.
she's got it.
All right, reading, sorry Tom, it's reading. Here's our middle school reading data. So these are our percentage of students who scored in the average or higher category. 67% grade 5, 62%, 67, and then 35% for our 8th graders who are now freshmen. Right, so. I'm not gonna go on and on because I got other slides, so I'm gonna keep going. Math.
Nice.
So, similar trend here with like, and Beth and I have done a lot of work and some of the teachers with our 8th grade group, and now they're high school, and we've talked a lot about high school and their programming. So we have 48, 47, 48, and 33 for middle school math.
I've already pounced on you. I'm just gonna let it go.
Just go.
Gonna let it roll.
But look at that growth.
Stop. Okay, so this is, maybe I should take these slides out.
I think you should. I really think you should.
I mean, not everybody needs to know all the data. Just kidding. So this is fall to spring. Again, remember that the test is different, so I kind of like to look at spring to spring. It doesn't always make me happier, but I do like to look at the spring to spring. But this doesn't.
That's nicer.
So again, you also have this cohort right here, right? Similar thing, like 26% for math, 47% for reading. But,
Look right
look
underneath
at
them.
6, 7.
And that 7 to 8, that's this year's freshman, correct?
Yeah.
I think the interesting that I found when looking at this, for the longest time, like at the elementary school at Christian, I remember like we saw that difference between 2nd and 3rd grade for
Yeah.
years. Like there was always a drop when they got to 3rd grade.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, a lot of it we was just talking about just the wording of the questions of the test and the way that it was, like, there was a change in the test itself. And I remember the comment, every year we would say, we almost expected it was a 3rd grade. When you look at these differences for these slides, the last cohorts, we're not seeing a trend like we've seen. Like there, it was pretty easy for us to explain 3rd grade every year. You can analyze and try to start picking it apart there.
Well, in 3rd grade, don't they stop reading to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, that's
That's
why.
the piece
Right,
that's
it
different,
was a
yeah.
little easy, but here, just for the last few years, it's been harder to pinpoint
Yeah.
one thing that would say, okay, if we can tackle this, then it's gonna be, you know, we can kind of explain. But it's really kind of been all over the place, you know. We have some ideas about the 8th grade cohort numbers, in terms of,
Well, they became teenagers too.
well, we just have some ideas, like that.
Yeah.
It's not a true reflection of their ability.
Right.
Level, just based on, when you see that big of a dip from what they were in years past, we think there's more effort.
Yeah.
Circumstances involved there that based on,
Well, that was a little bit of a tough group last year for us.
I mean, this, again, we all have
Right,
ideas of
right,
why
of
it
course.
happened.
Well, sometimes it's really hard to get the effort, and we do need them to give their best effort to get the data that is accurate, and sometimes that's really hard to, right? You want them to take it serious.
And some kids just don't test well.
No, and it is hard, I mean, it's,
I don't test well.
some kids test better paper pencil, right? And this is computerized and we don't have an option unless you have some really big reason in the state of Maine now to, I mean, you have to take it on the computer. So, I mean, there are a lot of, and this is one piece of data, it happens to be what gets flashed all through the public, right? So we have to pay attention to it. But this is one piece of data. We have all kinds of other data that we're also gathering and collecting and proof of how our kids are doing. This is what I'm required to report out on.
But using the data, sometimes,
Yeah.
in the past, we've found some things and we've been able to address them.
Yes.
And it has been helpful. And so like, on this particular slide that you've got here, it makes me very happy to see that our numbers don't take a gigantic cratering as soon as we go into the middle school, which used to be the case.
It happened a lot.
And that was because we found that the elementary school didn't communicate with the middle school. And so there was a needing to reteach all over again what had happened in the 4th grade, despite the fact that the kids already knew what had happened in the 4th grade, just because no one talked to one another. And you were the one that discovered that, and that helped us out a lot. And that was through use of this data. So I know I make your life miserable sometimes in these meetings, but you take that data and you use it, and that is effective, and so thank you for that. Apologizing for being mean, but that is, that's why we have that, that's why we see these horrible numbers and we fix them.
That's why
So
we
that's
do
good.
this. Why we do this. Okay, high school? So this is 9th and 10th graders from the spring, 72% and 70% in reading in the average or higher ranks. And math, 65% and 68%.
Perfect.
And here is your projection, meeting their projected growth. So the top is fall to spring, and then the bottom is spring to spring. I'm not gonna go over that slide, I'm just gonna jump into the state accountability data. And this means I'm gonna tell you how we did on participation and how our attendance was for last year. And so our goal is to get 95% of our students to take this test. And that helps us to keep the level of funding that we receive from the state. So district-wide, we're at 96, and then you see our percentages for the 3 schools that have grades that are required to take the state accountability assessment. Because it's only 3rd through 8th grade and our sophomores for state statute. And then what factors into whether we're tier 3 school or if we're under needs improvement also is our attendance data. And so our district-wide average daily attendance last year was 90.9%. So on any given day, 91% of our population was in attendance. And then our chronic absenteeism rate for this past year was 29%. Remember, chronic absenteeism rate is any student who misses 10% or more of the school days regardless of reason. Right, so if you go on a planned vacation for 12 days, that counts against this, even if we approved it.
Excused or unexcused.
Doesn't even matter, I mean, you could have been in the hospital, it still counts against us. So this is, take that for what it is. So that's 29%. These are our 23, 24, just for comparison, because I like to look at this to see how we're doing. So our ADA is, about the same, really statistically. And then our chronic absenteeism rate is a little higher than we want. Obviously, we want it to be lower. And then you have it by school as far as chronic absenteeism, excused, unexcused, regardless. So if you think of 175 school days, this would be the percentage of kids that missed 17.5 or more days, regardless of reason. So, cancel everything I just told you about NWEA and grit scores. This is just pulling out of the spring data those questions that are on grade level material, that the state decided was grade level material. So the state pulls that information out of that test that those kids took and says, okay, this is how you're doing on meeting state grade level expectations. And so you have in purple our data, like 52% of our third graders met the state expectations in math. The state average was 63. And then you have the reading, and you have it for all the grades. And I highlighted for you where we were at or above state average. This one was close, so I gave it to us.
Good job.
It's good. Any questions about that?
Is this current grade 3 or last year's grade 3?
This would be the last spring.
The spring, okay,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
But that's the same group of students that had the 28% growth.
It was 28% growth, but 52% of them met state expectations. So as an administrative team, we talk about this. I brought this to the A team the last couple of months, and we have some takeaways from this. Obviously, attendance is still a district-wide focus. We are focusing, we have all kinds of campaigns going for positive attendance. We're doing lots of things in all of our buildings to promote attendance. Administrators probably can put that in their reports about what we're doing. And then, Tom, I'm doing this all the time, but so are the other principals, using assessment data to make informed decisions about resources, professional development needs to increase student achievement. So do we have the right resources? Do we have the right PD? We're constantly having those conversations. And then tiered support systems available to students across all schools to meet the needs of all. And this is from your principals on the side here. So from Nicole and I, we did the elementary section on what we're doing specifically. Middle school, Beth put her information in there, and then Aaron shared some things that he was doing at the high school. You may make those.
Excellent, good read.
Yeah.
This one's
Well, it's
great,
good
yeah.
contrast.
Yeah.
And you can email this out to Christine.
Now,
You could email.
now it's
It's
key.
linked in my board.
No,
I
I
was thinking
wouldn't be
you
able to read it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. What I can't read is what's in the little black box.
That little black one,
Yeah.
the active panel,
Yeah, I can't do that.
that's okay.
That's has to do with the Promethean board.
Oh,
And that's all I
Yeah,
have
you don't
for you
need
guys. If you have any questions, comments.
I think we've had a lot of questions and comments. Thank you very much, Christina. We
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
putting up with
Yes.
me.
It's totally fine.
Or catches gear.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Christine.
Yes, you're welcome.
Next we've got appointment of board members to subcommittee.
So we did this earlier, or back I think April or May, but we have a couple just with, when Karen had stepped off and Ally stepped on, we had a couple vacancies, so just officially to have in the minutes to fill those vacancies. So we have three, of course Natalie's not here, so we can appoint her to anything we want right now.
Right.
Real quickly.
What are we trying on
So we have three committees that we need to fill. So we have finance, policy, and facilities. Those are ones that Kieran was on. I know for finance, Alicia, you've been here for the finance committees typically.
For the past year.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Do you wanna get on that committee?
I figure, I might as well.
I thought you was. She's here all the
get in the back.
I was unofficially on it.
And then Natalie was at the last policy committee meeting.
She indicated that she'd like to be
Yep.
part of that.
Alright, so Natalie wants policy committee.
Policy
Yeah.
committee?
Keith ought to be on
She gave the thumbs up.
I'd love to be, you guys meet at like noon, I can't get out of work in time.
And then the last
We can
one,
change that.
we have 2 people for facilities. We don't need a third person. I think Kieran was on there just,
Cause you want to
I
be.
mean, he could be around, so if somebody else wants to join the facilities committee, it starts at 4.
Did have to start.
I know that a lot of times we do it mostly for the facilities director, just because he's here.
Yeah,
He's
it is working.
here in the
Morning.
morning, just to keep,
One day a month, come on.
so, I mean, if somebody else wants to be on the facilities committee.
Did you wanna be in facilities?
Facility, it wasn't one of my top 3, but I'll also go where I need to be placed.
We don't necessarily need to, but there's a.
It doesn't sound like, we don't need you.
No. We don't. I would love to be on policy.
We've already placed you on policy while you were away.
We did actually.
there
My
any
daughter's
others?
over there, I was checking in with her.
What else did you want?
I'm interested in HCTC and curriculum also.
Now, we meet, now it's gonna be at 11 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah, HCTC meets during the day, so.
I know, yeah, that can be tricky, huh?
What date is it?
Curriculum, I think would put us
Second
over,
Thursday of the month.
Yeah, curriculum.
curriculum would put us over the weighted vote and create a quorum.
Yeah, okay.
So one thing you can always do, just run for any board member, and not just you know, if you want to attend a subcommittee meeting as a community member, you have a vote, you just can't vote.
The other thing is, do you guys wanna remain on curriculum?
I do.
I would
Second Thursday of
prefer
the month
to,
at what time?
11. Right now, it's at 11. This is the first year it's been at 11.
Are you talking about?
That was
We
an
can get ready to
eight-o'clock
do
meeting.
wait.
I mean,
That's
almost,
strange.
almost done it.
There's 11? That's too late for you. You should be taking a nap
We
at that
can-
point.
I think we're gonna switch out Alicia with Natalie there for curriculum.
No.
That's what Abby and I decided to do. Best for the
He
committee.
just traded you.
Listen, you have no power here.
Just
But I
looking
did
at.
As a collective vote, we have power. As single people, we do
Individually, you
not.
have no power.
So we're not gonna change the curriculum committee.
If
All right, but
facilities
the-
needs
the-
another
wanna
person.
start curriculum now.
I would love to be
talking
on
about here
finance, or
is
what's it
facilities.
called,
It's
otherwise.
just facilities.
And nobody seemed to want,
Nobody else wants to have
I'm on it.
facilities.
We
I'm
don't-
only on curriculum.
Do you,
we don't
I
need
mean, I'm
another
on
person
finance,
on the
so, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a cop, I feel like it's a cop out.
All right, so we got 2 appointments.
I just wanna make sure.
And then the last 2 days, so would like to have a couple of volunteers, because I want to start the, strategic plan, thank you, strategic plan revision, update, so to have.
I was already asked this whole row.
No, not the whole row.
We also have, before I say that, we
We
also
don't
have
want
our
them.
support staff negotiations committee.
Oh, I would be on that too.
So to try to break it up
Yeah,
some,
we should break that.
break that up here, so.
So Keith,
I
you wanna
think
be in
Natalie
negotiations?
should
Because
be.
you
I'll do
have some, you
negotiations,
have some.
yeah.
I think you should do negotiations, because it's really important. I
I'll be
just
on
did
that
one.
if you,
Okay, so
Okay,
negotiations.
so we're good.
I think that
You
negotiations
and
is really
Keith for
important.
negotiations, and then I'll do,
Three with the strategic.
the 3 of us do the strategic plan, Alicia, Natalie, and me. Does that sound
Sure.
good?
Alicia's over here making a case for why I should
She should
also
do,
join the strategic, or the negotiations.
She
Well,
should do
there's-
negotiations.
We tried to have
But there's
these not so many
negotiations
folks on negotiations.
Almost every
just-
year too, right? I mean,
That's
there's
right,
more
but
opportunity.
it just, it kind of gets bogged down having
Yeah,
to know.
this is a, and we can talk about it,
Yeah.
afterwards, but this one's a weird, I say with this contract, it has a tendency to be a lot of people on this one, because the support staff has so many different areas, because you have a custodian, you have a, and I know whether we've tried to limit the number of people at that one, just because a lot of voices at the table.
I'm self-employed, so it's flexible.
Dave's got
She's
good
self-employed.
experience with that, and Keith is learning how to do that. I think that would be a good
Community
team.
member.
Oh, cleaning houses, right?
And you guys will report back to to us like you normally do. So all of us will get input on that.
Just like the teacher.
Just like we do with the teachers.
Something monthly and report to the board.
Is that good with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good with everyone. So then, we don't need to make any vote on any of that,
Nope.
right?
No, I just want to put in the minutes that, that's where we use this, you get to assign those people based on that.
Sounds like I assigned.
So I'm strategic,
So
You're strategic.
Strategic.
Do we have?
Whoever can spell it.
I think,
And next, we've got calendar and announcements.
I think he grouped himself with us.
Curriculum Committee, November 6th, 6 o'clock central office. Policy Committee,
So I have a to be determined on that, David, because November 11th is a holiday. That would be our second Tuesday. So we had talked about going to, I couldn't remember what we talked about.
I couldn't remember, I know we talked.
We really
If we
came to a
decide.
conclusion, do we want it, is Wednesday good or is Monday good?
I
Monday
can't
was
do
bad.
Monday because I'm
Let's do Wednesday
traveling.
then.
Monday was bad. Wednesday.
So November 12th.
Finance Committee and School Board meeting, November 18th, 5:30 for the finance, 6 o'clock for the school board meeting. Facilities Committee, November 13th, 4 o'clock, central office.
Leo,
Anything else?
HCTC is gonna be at 11 o'clock on the 13th.
There you go.
HCTC, 11 o'clock on the 13th.
Or am I Scott on the 10th?
Oh, come on now, wait a minute.
He's a pretty good record.
That really wasn't my fault.
I know I've kept you all, so I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Just an update.
We got a second?
Lee, he's got a question about.
I got a question. So I've got, for some reason, I've got in my calendar, Thursday the 13th for policy.
I noticed that on my calendar too, yeah.
We did, you're right, because we were gonna do it after the facilities, or there was some other meeting we were gonna do on the 13th.
I just noticed that.
Just want to know, Mark has Susan.
Yeah, I went to punch in, I'm like, what have I got on the 13th?
I forgot to talk about that. I gotta look at my calendar to see
Abby, did you
why.
find out about tomorrow?
With your books.
Yeah, I'm gonna plan to meet you early.
I don't know why we chose the 13th, but
Do
we'll
you
stay with
want
that,
me to
Thursday
be
the
part of
13th.
it?
Thursday on
Okay.
the calendar.
Alright.
It's already on.
Send it out.
You guys are-
If I get to come
We got a
back.
motion to adjourn,
It's not looking good.
we got a
That's
second,
fine.
all those in favor?
Trying to-
That's unanimous, thank